What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. My friend, we are here. It is the prime thick of the playoffs in the NFL. At the time of this recording, your team and my team are warming up to square off tonight. By the time it's released, this is released on Wednesday or Thursday, one of us will be ecstatic, and one of us will just be hoping every other team has fun.
And I think it's interesting that one of us or both of us will be rooting to kick the crap out of Tom Brady next week.
Yes, no matter what, I will be rooting against Tampa Bay unless the game goes south tonight and the Rams play. Then I don't know. Well, it'll be a toss up.
I mean, how about this? I'm one of those that I get the fortunate of if it's not the Rams, then I'm rooting for the Cardinals. So, and I've always been like that, that I will root for the Cardinals anytime except when they're playing the Rams. Unfortunately, tonight they're playing the Rams, but next week, whatever team wins the night, I will be rooting for them to make it all the way.
Well, that's good, man. It's playoff football. Anything can happen, and it's anxiety. It's been 6 years since Arizona's been in the playoffs, and had we had this conversation after if the season would have ended when we were 7-0 and cruising, I'd have a whole different level of confidence. Where we're at right now, it's gonna yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I am too. But I don't. I'm not paying too much into it. Whatever happens, if it's a good game, great. If the Rams get destroyed like they did in Week 4, okay, that's the way it is. There's lots of other things going on in the world that I'm excited about. So that's okay. That
Yeah,
is okay.
that's very true. But to make sure I'm doing my part after we get done recording, I am going to go to FanDuel.com and place some bets on the Rams because generally whoever I bet on shits the bed. So I'm going to go do my part and bet on the Los Angeles Rams tonight.
Okay, that's very good. That's a very good betting strategy. So I hope that works out for you. Otherwise, you're going to make a shit ton of money tonight.
Exactly. I mean, the way I see it, man, and if I have to make that money and this is how I do it, well, shit, fine. It's
Isn't
what are you
that
gonna
funny? Yeah, you can at least that way. Oh, my team got killed, but I made $1,000. So.
do? Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm so sad, but it pays for a couple things I need to get taken care of, so it's no.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, so as we record this, we are back in the same state.
Yes, yes.
How was the weather up there? Was it cold? Was it wet? Was it dry?
So I was there for 2 weeks. We had 3 days where it snowed. It actually snowed and had some accumulation. We had a couple days that were in the 20s, cold weather. The rest of the time, it was a very balmy 45 to 50 degrees every day. It was actually pretty nice. I couldn't have asked for better weather. Shout out to the Ellises. They were tremendous to me. They were very gracious hosts, and I was so happy that I could be there with them for a couple weeks. They were great hosts. That being said, I'm sure they are ready to have their house back to themselves.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, while you've been gone, it's been very quiet here in Arizona. I have been busy binge watching Yellowstone and trying to make sense of the world that we're living in now. So,
Okay.
yeah. And best I could figure is, I'm just gonna go live on a ranch in Montana and just go do that. It seems like it's a whole much simpler life, even with
with all the frozen tundra and all that stuff.
Well, have you ever watched Yellowstone?
No, I haven't. It's on a show, or it's on a network, a streaming network that I don't have as part of my arsenal.
Oh, season 1 through 3 is on Peacock.
Just flat out Peacock, or
yeah.
So okay, so I can watch those first and then transfer over.
Yeah, because season 4 just finished on the Paramount channel, and it's not on streaming yet. So, but if you have the Paramount channel, they always have marathons of Yellowstone, so you can DVR and catch up that way.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe I'll start watching that. Before I left, we just got finished with Dope Sick on Hulu, and so we finished that one, and then we're trying to look for something else, but we just haven't found anything on TV that we've said, oh, let's jump on that.
Well, this is all Kevin Costner. This is a Kevin Costner driven show. He plays the patriarch of a family that owns a massive ranch in Montana, and it's kind of like Sons of Anarchy, but on horses and no drugs. I don't know if you ever saw Sons of Anarchy, but like the family politics, and you're always trying to protect what's yours, and people are coming after you, and it's a very intense show. But you understand why these characters are the way they are and why they do what they do. So for as much as you want to hate them, you almost respect and love them for that, because it does show their humanity throughout the whole show too.
I've heard it's an amazing show. I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's as like I said, as we're recording Monday, we finished season 3 last night. I had recorded season 4 when it started back in November. So Janice and I decided last night at 10 o'clock that we'll just watch the first episode of season 4, because season 3 ended on a cliffhanger, and we didn't want to go to sleep not knowing how that cliffhanger ended. And the season premiere of season 4 was 2.5 hours long
Oh,
with
wow.
commercials. So it's maybe like
Wow.
45 minutes when it's all said and done. But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so we ended up watching the first half of that, just like the first hour of it. And it's just, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's a fun show. But man, it's this is the age old adage. The problem I have is where if you start a show before it's done, like and you binge it before it's done being filmed and completely finished, you're stuck waiting for new episodes like everybody else. And
Yeah.
so we're going to get caught up here in the next 2 weeks with everybody else in the world and have to wait for season 5. That could be anywhere from this coming November to late 2023. So it's just the name of the game. But man, I highly recommend it if you're looking for something to watch.
I find it so interesting that so many of our podcast history of the show have revolved around the interesting shows that we watch on TV or binge watch. And it seems like every week we could probably talk about the cool things we watch on TV and go off for 45 minutes, an hour talking about that stuff.
Well, it's funny because there are 2 other shows that I have to watch at this point. One is the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus. It's a Western just like The Mandalorian, but it's more political and
Oh, okay.
more Goodfellas esque.
Okay.
Also, just very good. It's just a very good, very smartly done show. Jon Favreau, who's now the father of Star Wars, who happens to write all this amazing stuff, and Robert Rodriguez, the great director, wrote this series, and you can just see just the writing's just amazing. So if you haven't checked that out, check out the Book of Boba Fett. But I think anybody that's got Disney Plus or any kind of a geek over the age of 25 is well aware of that show. But the other one that I've been watching, and it's going to sound kind of corny, but you got to ride with me on this. It's called The Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, and it's on Discovery Plus.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so Alaskan killer Bigfoot. Now, you know me, I'm from Alaska originally, so
Yes.
I know all about the Bigfoot that everyone thinks it's a hoax, but it's real. But go on,
Yeah.
continue.
So
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, people. I don't know that they're real or not. I lived in Juneau, so we didn't see a lot of Bigfoot, if any.
so yeah. The precipice of the show is that there was a canning community called Portsmouth or Portslock, uh, off the coast of Alaska in one of the little inlets. And back in the 1940s, it was basically abandoned overnight because hunters and guards of the town would disappear in the middle of the night, and they would find them dead and badly beaten in the lagoon. So this cannery town basically vanished off the face of the earth. Everyone left. The Indian tribe that ran it went back to the main port city a couple hours away, and that's just where they've stayed. And they want to repopulate this location and try to rebuild the cannery and try to make it a city again. So to see if they can, they have sent a bunch of people from their tribe and some survivalists to see what the deal is, because everyone from the 40s had stories of Sasquatch, or what they call Nantinnuk, which is their word for Sasquatch, and how they would come out of the mountains and they would terrorize and they would kill people that took from the land.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So this group of survivalists and nature people are going back to this ghost town to try to investigate.
They're investigating it to see if that really happened, and if it did, what can they do to prevent it from happening again? And if they didn't, what it would take to re-establish that as a community within their Indian reservation to make it a viable economic income source for their tribe.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So
Tell more, because I can already see this is one of those. Oh man, the beautiful chandelier. This is a beautiful house. This is really nice. Get out. too bad we can't stay, baby. This is what I see. This is this whole thing. Can we make some money here?
And that's kind of what it
No,
is, man. But
because the thing is real. Get away from the town. Why are we doing this?
and that's kind of what it is. Like, and if you listen to other Sasquatch Bigfoot podcasts, if you read the stories, do whatever, because I do. It's a hobby of mine. I think anyone that's listened to the show knows that I enjoy cryptozoology. I enjoy the conspiracy side stuff. But I've always been fascinated by Bigfoot. And thanks to the power of the internet and people able to compare stories and share stories, I feel like more and more research is getting done, and people are starting to put two and two together on certain things. And I guess the first step is, if you're going to believe in something like this, if an animal like that has been able to have been unnoticed for however many thousands or millions of years, you would have to. Sorry, my Amazon just went off. I lost my whole train of thought there.
If these animals have been around for that many years,
yeah, I mean, you would think there's evidence, but if there's no evidence, what are the chances that maybe it is not of this world, or there is a metaphysical side to the story that we are unaware of yet?
Okay.
So
okay, so when you're watching the show, how far? First of all, how far are you into the show?
There's like the new episode it comes out every Tuesday, so I think we're caught up to every episode.
Okay.
So like 7 or 8 episodes in, so it's almost over.
And it's a series, though. It is a series.
Yeah, it's a series.
Okay.
But they kind of ask some of the same questions. They kind of ask some questions like, all right, so what if it is metaphysical? What if it is something that, because they tend to see balls of light in an area, and then they start hearing the noises, the light disappears, they hear the noises, they hear the steps, they hear the screaming, and rocks get thrown, and then they go toward that area, and then they see a ball of light and it's gone.
Okay.
So there's a working theory, and it's a working theory throughout other Bigfoot researchers and whatever else, that this is where it's going to get weird, so the EP is not going to like this, but I'm just going to go with it. It goes back to our inner Earth conversation from many moons ago, that they're metaphysical beings that have the ability to turn themselves into balls of energy to transport between inner Earth and the surface, and they are the protectors of nature.
So here is the problem that I already have with this.
Yes.
So if that is the case, then are we to assume that the people that were canning in this city got too close to that portal, and that's why the Bigfoot is coming to kill them?
Well, the working theory is the reason they're terrorized by what they can assume is probably a family of Sasquatch is that they were taking resources from the land.
Oh.
They were hunting, they were fishing, they were cutting down trees, they were moving further into the forest to get these resources, and that's where the Nantiak lived, or a patrol, however you want to call it, and they didn't like that, so they protected their land, as it were.
And do you trust that this is the working theory is correct?
It's interesting. It's kind of like if you ever do any, like, watch those specials like Ghost Adventures or other specials on the paranormal.
Yes.
Once you get around certain types of energy, they drain your batteries. They drain, like, your camera equipment starts to malfunction. Everything starts to just stop working properly. Very similar things happen here with tracking the Bigfoot. There's been other specials kind of like that too, and the closest that they've ever gotten on camera from the shows they've shown and the research I've read is thermal cameras on drones that can go above, like, the tree lines, have picked up fast moving heated objects that are really big moving toward them in a general direction and then disappear all of a sudden.
Okay.
So it's that goes back to that ball of light energy, to where they are a solid mass, and then at a certain point they draw the energy from the cameras or whatever else, because the cameras on the ground would malfunction, and then it just disappears.
So let me ask you this, because now I'm starting to think that, is it possible that there are some, I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but there are some theories that you cannot believe in, but believe in other theories that are just as preposterous as a theory that you don't believe in. I'll give you a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tough time with the Bigfoot. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why. I have a tough time with the Bigfoot, the Nanook or whatever, the Sasquatch. Yet when I watch those ghost stories where I see shit move, I totally believe that that's real.
Yeah.
So why do I believe that the ghosts are real, but the Sasquatch is not?
I think because if you're able to see the ball move on camera or the chair start rocking on its own, you physically can see that happening. You can physically see nothing there to provoke it to do that. Correct?
That is correct. My eyes are telling me that
Your
something moved without a reasonable explanation.
your eyes are telling you that. So when you deal with something like a Sasquatch, you are looking into a forest and you can assume that they probably blend in fairly well. And if they want to be seen, they'll be seen, but most likely they don't want to be seen. And they can camouflage and hide themselves. But they can make themselves known though too fairly easily.
And another example that I was just thinking of, when I was in Denver, one of my friends was watching one of these shows, kind of like, you know, the unexpected, same thing. And there was a woman on a lake in Michigan or Minnesota or someplace. She actually filmed something that looked like a mermaid. I
Yeah.
mean, a big tail. It was a human body up top, and then it went under the water, and a big tail flipped up and down as if it was a real mermaid.
Yeah.
Now, it looked real. I didn't believe it because I think, no, it's got to be someone playing a prank or something. But why are we okay to agree with some conspiracy theories or theories, but not others?
You
What do
know,
you think?
it's funny you mentioned that because I had a very similar conversation with our 10-year-old the other day. That just because someone tells you it's not true doesn't mean it's not true. It just means from their perspective, it's not true. And we were talking
Okay.
about the media and doing more research and everything, but you have to remember, legends and lore come from somewhere. There's a reason that if you go to Eastern Europe and you dig up graves, you find some graves have cages around them underneath the dirt. Um, some have stakes driven through their hearts because they firmly believe in vampire.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay.
And that comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
All these stories and legends, come from something and that doesn't mean that they go away because someone said, oh, it's false and here's why. Lore Truth comes from lore, and the lore comes from what people have seen in the past. It might be a version of the telephone game, and it might not be what we expect to see, but that doesn't make it any less true, though.
Yeah. That's interesting because I do feel that sometimes when someone says something enough, people will make that a truth
Yeah,
and find evidence that will prove that true. Think about this 50 years ago, maybe even 60 years ago, Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek, talked about warp speed,
yeah,
antimatter engine propulsion, right?
yeah,
I just watched a documentary with my friend that basically hypothesized how we as humans could colonize another galaxy. And they talked about the different ways we'd have to propel ourselves through the universe. And what did they talk about? Scientists are actually developing the use of antimatter as an energy source.
yeah.
So they took something that could have been made up because maybe someone did some research, but there was nothing much about it, and they turned it into a reality.
See, now
They turned it into real.
here's another perspective on that, and it again down the conspiracy rabbit hole. Have you ever heard of drop feeding? Drop feeding is the idea that the media and entertainment put things in front of us very obviously, but to say it's just a story. It's just a story. Don't worry about it. And that way they get us used to seeing it. And someday when it happens, like, I don't know, warp speed, we're not like, oh my God, look what we can do now all of a sudden. I mean, it's something that's the idea has been broached to us over a series of 50 to 60 years. And now all of a sudden it's coming true.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you look through a lot of the different media in the way they kind of control narratives, there's a lot of different ideas out there that they drop feed to you to get you conditioned to the idea that maybe this is what really happened, or this is what really happened when it comes out. And we saw that happen very abruptly with the 2020 election. I mean, they did it very poorly with the rigged elections and whatever else. By saying it enough times and presenting it in their own light, enough people started to fall for it.
Well, and I mean, I guess that's probably true. Talk about brainwashing, right? You say a lie enough times, and people's, they break down their mental blocks that stop that from happening.
Yeah.
People do false confessions, right?
Yeah.
They confess to something that they didn't do, but they confess to it because they've been mentally prepared to do that. Like me, I don't believe in the Sasquatch. I don't believe in the Sasquatch. But part of it might be because I just haven't been conditioned enough to think, oh, it's totally real. You have. Maybe you've seen enough or believe enough or want to believe enough that is a fact.
Well, let me throw this idea at you now too. You've heard the theory that like animals can see on different color and spectral levels and frequencies and hear on different frequencies than humans can, correct?
Yes.
So it's said that dogs can sense a ghost, if it were, or if there's something extraterrestrial in the room, like extraterrestrial, like a ghost or whatever in the room, correct?
Right. Yes.
If the human audiology system, the ears and the eyes, ocular systems, if we can only see certain frequencies and see certain levels with our eyes and ears, who are we to argue that other things don't exist on levels of frequencies we just can't see?
So how much evidence, though, do you need in order to prove that something is not true?
And then that's an excellent point. I don't know in this world if that's even possible.
Because I remember that story a few years ago where the conspiracy theorists had just for a fact knew that there were politicians that were going to a pizza place basement at a pizza place, and they were molesting and sacrificing children.
Yeah, Pizzagate.
And the Pizzagate, and the guy was going to stop that because he believed it was so real. He believed it. He got to the pizza place armed and ready to take on anyone who was doing this illegal activity. Found out the pizza place didn't even have a basement.
Yeah,
now, do you think that the guy finally woke up and said, "Okay, I got duped. I believe something that didn't really happen," or do you think, "Oh, it's still real. I picked the wrong pizza place"?
Well, you talk about something like that, and there's a page I follow on one of the social medias, and a guy popped up on there the other day, and it's like, why is the White House building these giant concrete walls around it? I mean, what do they know that we don't? What are they telling us? Because they came out of nowhere. And I thought that's weird. So I Googled it because it takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And so said, hey, why are there why are there temporary walls around the White House? And the press release I found was they're increasing the size of the regular fence to prevent people from trying to rush it, as a result of January 6th.
Okay.
So they're replacing the fence around the White House now with a much larger fence. So until it's replaced, they have to have these temporary walls up.
Okay, I see. I got you. Okay.
So it's a simple explanation. So it's also, those conspiracy theorists like that are also gaslighting and only going off half cocked because they don't want to do the research.
Yeah, well, but I'm sure that there's even more. I'm sure there's even more things. Like, did you ever watch that Netflix documentary about the girl in that haunted hotel that ended up dying?
Oh yeah. The ghost.
And they thought that she gotten off. That she had gotten taken by some spirit or some devil or something like that, and she was killed. There were so many people who just believed that they kept watching the video evidence from the elevator, and they kept watching to see what was going on, and they thought, oh, for sure that there was another person in the hallway that took her and did all this. And then ultimately, when they started reading the actual police reports, and they found out that the door was open in the water tank and it had not been closed behind her, and that she probably fell in, they immediately said, oh, okay, that's probably what happened. It wasn't some, So they admitted finally that, they found enough facts that proved what they did wrong, but they spent years believing that she had done this, years and years. And do you think they finally said, yeah, okay, that explains it. Now I understand?
No,
I think the most of them do, but some of them probably said, nope, it's still a conspiracy. It's still
because that created two documentaries at least I watched last year on it. So it drives the narrative forward. Also, on a side note, the Ghost Adventures team that did one of those documentaries was actually in Kingman last week at our Lee Williams High School, our South Campus.
Oh,
Filming an episode
hunting
of
ghosts.
Ghost Adventures.
Oh wow, very cool.
Yeah. Now they were
Wow.
telling the kids that it's the second most haunted high school in Arizona. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but they were here doing whatever it is they do. So I'll be interested to see what that episode looks like when it does come out.
I guess the reality is though, all of us, every single one of us has a preset um, amount of dampeners in our head that will
Yeah.
soak in information and accept something for true that may not be, or accept something as untrue that probably is. And these conspiracy theories, like the Bigfoot, it's just I don't have my dampeners on to believe it. Why I believe in the ghosts and I don't believe in Sasquatch doesn't make any sense to me, other than my dampeners are off kilter.
Yeah, and as we wrap up this conversation, that's a very good point. I'll leave this one out there for you because I was listening to another podcast about stuff like this today, just because this is what I listen to, and I'm just trying to clear my mind, and I'm just trying to get like busy work done because it gives me something to concentrate on, but not concentrate on.
Yeah,
And the gentleman that they were interviewing was talking about how, if you notice, a lot of these cryptozoological things that happen, whether it be Sasquatch or dogmen, or in some cases little people like gnomes or leprechauns, they all happen around military bases, close to military bases, like military bases in mountains. In Colorado, where you're just from, where our EP resides, there is a great amount of lore about little people in those mountains by the military bases.
yeah.
But because it's such a big world, because there's still so many things we don't understand or don't know about or not being told about, I don't think you can discount anything until you know for a fact it's a hard no. And I'm not sure how you find that out except without figuring it out for yourself by going and doing the research physically there, if you're even allowed to get into those areas.
Well, and maybe it also is too, is some people that becomes very important in their psyche. For
Yeah.
me, it's not important whether or not there's a Sasquatch or not.
No.
It's not important enough if there are ghosts or not. While I find it fascinating and I believe in them, if I were to find out no, they're not true, the devastation would be very minimal.
Yeah, like, oh
You
no,
know,
it's terrible. Hey, just go to dinner.
just like if I found out that there was a Sasquatch and a mermaid, okay, cool, But now I recognize that I'm a faulty person. That there might be some importance to finding out these not conspiracy theories, but these theories of what they're true or not true. It might be just that it's not that important to me one way or the other.
Yeah, but
So accepting
they don't
the truth
affect you directly. They don't affect you directly, so why would they be important to you?
Yeah, but like you said, hey, I want to know because if there is Sasquatch, that's kind of cool, and that means something to me that's important in my life too.
Yeah, I think it's important to give consideration to some of these stories and legends out there because they have to come from somewhere.
Yep.
And to pass it off as, oh no, it was just the wind, or you were seeing things because you were tired, or you're just hangry, or what have you. I don't think it's giving enough credence to the idea that maybe, just maybe, these things are real, or the possibility of whatever this is could actually be out there. And we have to open up our minds to the possibility that there's more to this world than we are being led on to or told about.
And the opposite side is that the nature of my life doesn't matter if it's true about the
Also,
Sasquatch or not true. My life would move forward. It would be awesome if it was true. It would not hurt me if it wasn't true.
exactly.
And so I like when people pursue these kind of things more as like a hobby and interest, and not a obsession with their life.
Exactly. Man,
Because either one of two things: either you're going to find out the truth and you're going to be like, "Yeah, I found out the truth. Okay, now what's next?" Or two, you're going to be totally disappointed that you've spent so much time and energy on something that's not true, and you're going to be like, "Wow, I just can't believe I did that."
Yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is you just got to keep it light and fun, and just with everything in life, keep yourself open to the idea of the possibility.
Balance of the possibilities. That's right.
The idea of the possibility. So as we wrap up this show today, Have you had an experience with something that you can't quite explain, or have you been told your entire life that something's not real when you think it is? We want to hear about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Or if you all have any stories about the Colorado Little People legends that you could pass on to our EP, Tom, hit him up on Twitter and Instagram at liquid_EP.
Hey, everybody, that was actually fun. I think it's always fun when we these things because you and I have a little bit different take on conspiracy theories, but it's always fun to kind of shoot the breeze. I'm glad you're enjoying your show about the Nantuk or whatever.
Natatuck, yeah.
Or Nantuk, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. We really appreciate you. That was Scott. I am Jason, and as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid courage.